Okay, started. All right, let me get it started. Um, do I present? Hmm, Present. Okay. Welcome to the Wellness Check. This are weekly webinars that happen every Thursday where we talk about hello for jumping in. Um, can you see my screen? Okay, so let me get the recording. Just FYI, these are being recorded for YouTube as well. I'm gonna get it started because we only have 30 minutes and a lot of information to cover. All right, so the Wellness Check is basically a weekly webinar where we talk about health and wellness. So today we're going to talk about gut microbiome and how the gut microbiome helps or can affect your weight loss journey. All right, but before I start, let me introduce myself. My name is Willis Maliombo. I am a wellness coach, licensed nutritionist, and chef. I've been doing this for over 10 years. I have a company called Zilly Wellness. We are a digital wellness platform, and we help people develop a healthier relationship with food. We offer booklets, guides, detox supplement, online courses, wellness programs, and virtual consultation. All right, so let me get to the information. So, why you may not be losing weight, okay? So I thought about this topic because I have a lot of clients who basically do everything before they come to me, right? They do everything that they are supposed to. They are told by their trainer that they need to count the number of calories that is going in, do a specific type of workout, a lot of cardio, and no matter what they do, they cannot seem to lose weight. Right. So I get a lot of clients who are at that stage, and I am like their last straw. So they come to me and they can't understand why things are not going right. And what I usually tell clients is yes, when we're talking about weight loss, it is about calories in, calories out, but there are a variety of things that can affect your weight, the way your body burns these calories that can affect, and that will affect your weight loss. Okay. So, what are these things I listed out in the next slide? You have the first one is if you're consuming more calories than you actually think that you're consuming. That happens often, right? And if a client comes to me with that problem, I'll try to have them track their calories, okay? That's number one, and that's the typical one that you will see if you go to a personal trainer, if you go to someone who may not have studied nutrition in depth, they will tell you to watch your calories. But there are other hidden one that can actually be super frustrating because even if you're consuming less calories, you're not understanding what's going on with your body. So the one we're going to talk about today is the imbalance of microbiome, and I'll explain what microbiomes are in a little bit. Um, you also have hormonal imbalance. That's a big one. That's one that's really frustrating to a lot of clients. I had a client who had a thyroid issue and she could not lose weight at all, whatever she tried. And of course, we worked on it and I had to explain to her what that hormone was and why it was affecting her weight loss journey. So that's one that's very, very specifically for women. That's one that really, really can trigger a lot of things, right? So you have women also who have imbalance when we're talking about PCOS, who have pre-diabetics, menopause. All of these hormonal changes that happens in our body can affect our weight loss journey, and we'll talk about it in following lectures. And then you have neurotransmitters. Okay. If you've been with me on this journey before, I've had classes on neurotransmitters, especially for people, for instance, who suffer from depression. Sometimes they can take medication that can affect their weight loss journey. And this is stuff that I talk about as well. So we're going to focus on the microbiome today. So, what is the microbiome? It's a universe of healthy bacteria that lives inside of us. Okay. It is composed of a variety of different bacteria. And if you are interested in that, shoot me an email. I can send you a list of the different type of bacteria that live in our gut. But they help us, they have this relationship with us that we call a symbiotic relationship. It's a healthy relationship that they have with us, and we're going to see in the next slide what that means. Went the wrong way. Okay, so we talked about how the microbiome is a variety of bacteria that lives inside of our body. Specifically, they're everywhere. You have bacteria in our skin, in our nails, in our hair, but specifically in the GI system, in the gut, they live in the colon. So they live in that last area. If you guys know, the GI system is like a long tube. When you digest, the food goes through this long tube, and each area of the tube have a specific function. The colon is the last one that's closest to the anus, right? And it has a lot of bacteria that lives there, and they help us live, right? So they help us when we are consuming food, we're not only fueling ourselves, but we also are fueling these organisms. And they do something, so they digest our food. Their food is usually the food that we can digest, so that's fibers. If you guys have ever heard that, we don't really actually digest fibers, okay? But fibers are these foods that are made with so much nutrient that they not only feed us, but they also feed these good bacteria. And these bacteria are going to process the fibers and they're going to make what we call metabolites. Okay, so this is what's written over here. So metabolites is the result of all of these healthy bacteria breaking down the food that we eat. And it helps to create vitamins, okay, important vitamins like vitamins K, um, B vitamins, biotin, short chain fatty acids. So vitamin K, let me just go through that really quickly. It's the very important vitamin to help clog the blood. So if you didn't have that vitamin, when you cut yourself, you could bleed out forever. Okay, that vitamin is super important for that. And then you have the B vitamins. So the B vitamins are super important for energy. Okay. A lot of people don't know that, but in order to make energy, you need the B vitamins. And if you don't have them, sometimes you can feel very sluggish. You could feel very fatigued, right? Or we can adjust them for food, but the microbiome also helps to create these vitamins. Okay. And then you have vitamins like biotin, which is also a B vitamin, which is super healthy for your hair, for your nails, for you to even look good, for your collagen or your skin to be vibrant and has the elasticity that it has. You could get that from biotin. And then they create also what is called short chain fatty acid. That's why we see over here, SF, SCFA. And these are fats molecule that are made by our microbiome, and they fuel the cells in our gut. So they help to heal our gut. All of these metabolites come from your microbiome. Okay. So let me just read the part where it talks about weight loss. Their metabolite helps to digest fats, super important, help to digest glucose. And it's super important to the process of metabolism. So if you've never heard what metabolism made to put in the most simplest word is the ability to break down energy, to break down calories. That is how we lose weight. And their metabolites, the things that they provide our body, those microbiome, help us to lose weight by breaking down the energy, okay? By helping to control the mechanism that breaks down energy in our body. They can also affect hormones, okay? Especially those that are related to weight loss. So there's a term that I use here that is GLP-1. That is the hormone that is being replicated in the lab that is called Ozempic. Okay. If you guys heard of Ozempic, Wegovy, these new drugs that are supposed to help you, well, they're not supposed to, they help you lose weight. They have been replicated from a natural hormone in our body. And our microbiome kind of monitor or kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of help to balance that hormone within our body. So you can see how if you have an imbalance in microbiome in your gut, how that can affect everything, not just weight loss, but the type of vitamins that your body can have. Okay, so I see a lot of young people having early graying of hair. That comes from a lack of B vitamins. Okay, that usually is a sign that your microbiome is in balance. Okay. So I'm gonna pause right there. Do you have any question?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Uh-oh, I cannot hear. Simi. I could not hear if you said anything, but if you didn't, if you do let me know. You could write it on the chat. Like I said, I'm also recording that from YouTube. So if I'm going a little fast, just make sure, okay, no problem. Make sure to slow me down. But thank you. All right. So, what can affect the balance of microbiome? The first one is antibiotics. Super important. Um, if you've ever received an antibiotic treatment in your life, you probably have affected your microbiome one way or another. Because what antibiotics do, yes, they help your body get rid of the bad bacteria, but they also wash the good bacteria along the way. So if you've ever taken a treatment of antibiotics, guarantee you that your microbiome has been affected one way or another. That's the top one. And then you have certain medication. So certain medication makes the environment in your GI system very difficult for your good bacteria to just live, right? So I don't have the names on top of my head, but I know there is certain medication that are given, for instance, for heart disease. They can affect your microbiome. But there's a variety of medication that had that side effects. So, disclaimer, I'm not asking you to stop your medication, but there are ways that you could work with a nutritionist or a healthcare practitioner to make sure that you are providing your body the support that it needs so that a medication doesn't wipe out everything. And we'll talk about it in a little bit, what you can do if you feel like you have an imbalance of microbiome in your body. Okay, the next one is refined foods, refined sugar. So the bad bacteria, unfortunately, I'm going to say this, I love sweets myself, right? But the bad bacteria feed off of sweets, carbs, and sugar. If you ever notice, I've ever followed a regimen or a diet, whether it be like to get yourself rid of yeast or any type of bloating, because signs of imbalance of microbiome includes things like belching a lot. It includes things like having a lot of bloating, a lot of what is it? A lot of gas, because the bad bacteria make a lot of gas. So these are signs that your microbiome is imbalanced. And if you ever follow a diet that is advocating for you to get rid of these bad microbiome, the first thing they're going to ask you to cut out are these refined carbs or carbohydrate in general. Now, I'm going to say this, your body does need carbs to survive. You don't want to be on the low carb diet forever. You have to see those diet as a treatment. So for a certain amount of time, usually 3 months, you want to be off of any type of sweets or carbs because those bad bacteria, they absolutely love these foods. Okay. Another one is artificial sugar. So there was a period of time where people were like, okay, we don't want to have sugar anymore. Let's go into these lab-made artificial sugars. So bad for you. So, so bad for you. Not only do they disrupt the environment of your gut for these healthy bacteria, but they also make you less sensitive to a hormone, which we'll talk about later on in during the month, that is called insulin. And if anybody knows anything about weight gain and weight loss, if you become less sensitive to insulin, you will gain weight. That's what happens to people who have diabetes, pre-diabetic, or have a hard time losing weight because their insulin is not working properly in their body. So artificial sugars is a no-no. No, no. If there's one thing about that you want to take away from this lecture that you want to take out of your pantry is artificial sugars. Please stay away from them. And then you have stress. When you are stressed, okay, a little level of stress is okay. Chronic stress, when you're always stressed, whether it be at work or at home or in relationships with your significant other or anybody that stresses you for a chronic period of time, your body is going to release certain type of hormones. These hormones are released to help you deal with your stress, but unfortunately, they are not healthy for your gut microbiome. Okay. And I put antibiotics again because that's the number one disturber of gut microbiome. So now that we have all that information, what can we do to heal? Okay, we're going to end this lecture with a quick section on what we can do to heal. So, usually, you want to approach this in two phases. The first phase is you want to deal with the bacteria. So you want to eliminate foods that are making your symptom worse and consume a good amount of fermented food. So fermented foods are considered what we call prebiotics. Our good bacteria absolutely love prebiotics. So you have foods like kimchi or fermented pickle, anything fermented. Your healthy gut microbiome is going to love that. And then vegetables, like I said, vegetables. I will stay away from fruits because the sugar attract the bad bacteria, but vegetables is the food that our microbiome consume. The fiber, like I said, we can't digest it. They don't get into our bloodstream, but the bacteria in our gut love that. That's their food, okay? And then working with herbs that are antibiotics. So the difference between medication and herbs that have antibiotic properties, I should say, is the herb is gentle enough to target the bad bacteria, whereas the medication, when it's done in the lab, is sometimes is too strong. Okay, so if you don't have a hard case of imbalance in microbiome, you can consume herb. So I listed garlic here. Um, for the garlic, you want to think about it as in a capsule because you need at least 900 milligrams to 1,000 milligrams. You cannot get that from eating garlic. I know a lot of people say that they have some super cure to help your stomach or whatever with actual fresh garlic. You cannot get that amount of active ingredient of garlic from eating it. So try to get a capsule or a capsule that's of good quality that can help you do that. And I have a list that I will give to people who are on the webinar. So if you want to drop your email in the chat, I will give you specifically a list of a variety of herbs that have antibiotic properties. Everything that I've learned in nutritionist school is evidence-based. They have done studies on these herbs. These are the herbs that I'm going to list. Um, and if you want a copy, just drop your email in the chat. Okay, supplementation, super important. There is this natural yeast called S. boulardii. That is actually a healthy yeast. When you ingest that yeast, it helps to balance your microbiome. Okay, especially if you have a lot of toxic or bad bacteria, that yeast helps to balance it out. Okay. And then lastly, there is medication. There actually is medication for people who have really bad cases of imbalance of microbiome. I'm talking about conditions like SIBO. Like I said in the beginning, your microbiome or these healthy bacteria, they stay in the latter section of your GI system. They stay in your colon. When they get to areas like your gut, where all of the nutrients are being absorbed from your food, that's what your small intestine do. When these microbiome are able to get there due to a variety of things like not having enough stomach acid or having GI issues in general, it can be very detrimental, especially because it can stop your small intestine from absorbing all the nutrients your body actually needs. And it can make you nutrient deficient. It can also disrupt the lining of your small intestine and cause a lot of inflammation. So when the your case is that intense, you'll have to work with your healthcare practitioner, and they can, in that case, prescribe some antibiotics like I'm going to say this wrong, but rifaximin and ciprofloxacin that are going to get rid of everything. And then you'll work with your nutritionist or your healthcare practitioner to help bring back the healthy bacteria through a healthy diet, through supplements and the likes. And then lastly, once you have gotten your body rid of the bad bacteria, you want to heal your gut because the bad bacteria releases some toxic substances that causes a lot of inflammation. So a lot of people have heard of the term leaky gut. That comes from sometimes these bad bacteria. The inflammation that they causes so let's say your colon membrane is like this, right? And then the food goes through this tube. It causes those colon cells to loosen up, right? This is what leaky gut is. It loosens it up and it allows food to get into your bloodstream without being digested. And it causes things like allergies or eczema or rashes. Or just disturbance, usually that show up in in your skin or your membrane or your hair, and you're wondering, like, I don't know, did I eat something? It usually comes from these bad bacteria releasing these toxic supplements that is causing inflammation on your membrane. So once you get rid of them, you want to think about healing. Okay. So how do you heal it? You eat food that have a lot of polyphenols. These are healthy fats that are found, or sorry, alcohols that are found in vegetables. Okay. You want to eat a lot of vegetables. One thing I'm going to say, if you do have an imbalance in gut microbiome, as you're healing, you want to stay away from raw food. Okay, because the bad bacteria also feed themselves off of vegetables. So eat a lot of cooked vegetable until you feel like your body's back to balance. You can use herbs as well. Um, Demulcent herbs are herbs that helps to soothe and heal any type of membrane. So it's going to help heal your colon. And you can also use anti-inflammatory supplement. My favorite one and the best one in the game are omega-3s. Healthy fats are going to help inflammation. By helping inflammation, you're going to help to heal your gut. So we are at time, and we are done with this section. Like I said, if you have any questions, I don't know if you have any question in the live right now, but if you do, you can go ahead and unmute your mic. I'm hoping that this is not going to kick us out, but you can email me as well. I do one-on-one session. I am going to release a self-taught weight loss course by the end of this month. And you can go ahead and purchase it. And yeah, I hope that I see you next time. Bye. Okay, stop the recording.